recognized the State of Palestine in a joint move aimed at reviving momentum for a two-state solution. In their statements, leaders accused Israel's government of pursuing settlement expansion in the West Bank, carrying out relentless bombardment in Gaza, and blocking any path to a Palestinian state. Canada became the first G7 nation to recognize an independent Palestinian state. Taking to social media, Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney stated that the recognition was about supporting self-determination and human rights. Prime Minister Keir Starmer of United Kingdom declared the peace requires a safe Israel alongside a viable Palestinian state with no role for Hamas. Listen into what he said.
I set out in July the terms upon which we would act in line with our manifesto to recognise Palestinian statehood. That moment has now arrived. So today, to revive the hope of peace and a two-state solution, I state clearly, as Prime Minister of this great country, that the United Kingdom formally recognises the State of Palestine. We recognised the State of Israel more than 75 years ago as a homeland for the Jewish people. Today, we join over 150 countries who recognise a Palestinian state also.
The Australian Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, also announced his government's decision just as he arrived in New York for the UN Leaders' Week. Keith was on the telecast with me. Keith, what are your reactions to the decision that has been made by the United Kingdom? Does not come with full support of the United States of America for the recognition of a Palestinian state.
Good afternoon from London. Well, we shouldn't need to have the support of the United States. Contrary to popular belief and the recent visit of Donald Trump, the United Kingdom is an independent country and therefore able to return and control its own foreign policy. As you have said in your report, 75 years ago, Israel was recognized as a state. 75 years later, Palestine has been recognized. The boundaries of Palestine and Israel were drawn by a British government and a British Foreign Secretary, Arthur Balfour. So the fact is that it's taken a very long time to do this, but the question is, what does this mean? Because we still have a continuing genocide that is going on in the West Bank. Buildings are being destroyed, people are being killed, thousands upon thousands of innocents have been killed since what happened in October last year. And the fact is, nothing is being done by the big powers, the big countries, in order to stop this happening. And throughout this entire period, of course, Britain has supported Israel with diplomatic cover and with actual support, as we have seen in the last few months and years. So welcome though this statement is, and dramatically though it's been given by Keir Starmer, what does it actually mean in practice? How is this going to result in a cessation of violence by Israel against the Palestinian people? I think everyone recognizes that this is happening. A genocide is being committed. That's what the United Nations have said. What I want to know is, when is the British government going to acknowledge that? So,
right.
Keir Starmer
right.
has
And what do you make? You know, very recently, President Trump was in United Kingdom. He did make a statement in that joint press conference that he is not in alignment with United Kingdom's Keir Starmer when it comes to immigration, or for that matter, the recognition of Palestine that United Kingdom so completely endorses and advocates. Do you think it is going to, there is any likelihood of an impact on the trade ties or the foreign policy alignment between both countries?
Well, who knows? As you have reported today in your program, only yesterday they were saying that Indian citizens would have to pay $100,000 for a visa to come and work in the UK, in the US. And now they're saying, well, it doesn't apply to anyone who's there at the moment. So American foreign policy changes every hour and every day. So I don't think we should necessarily attach ourselves to a foreign policy of another country, whether it's the United States or any other country. So yes, he did visit the United Kingdom. And of course, on state visits, everyone is very nice to everyone else, waiting for the difficult decisions to be taken when the other person leaves the country, which is what's happened in this particular case. My position, and the position of, I think, the majority of the British people, is we want to protect and defend Israel as an independent nation, and we want to protect and defend Palestine as an independent nation. We want these two states to be in harmony. That's been a position that we've held for a long time, and it's just taken very long for Keir Starmer to announce it.
Keith, what are the chances that without the support of the United States of America, there would be a formal recognition of Palestine?
Oh, definitely. As you said, 150 countries have already voted in favor. I think the world is being held to ransom by the United States, Israel, and some very, very small, odd combination of nations who are opposed. So it's not just the recognition, it's actually what's going to happen as a result of this statement. Is anything going to change? Is there going to be a ceasefire? Is there going to be a cessation of violence against the Palestinian people? What are Britain, Australia, and Canada going to do about this, given that originally Keir Starmer said that Israel could do whatever it wanted as a result of the attack by Hamas? Nobody supports Hamas. They're not a democratic entity, even though they are actually, in effect, the government of the people of Palestine. We've not really had elections there, as we haven't in Israel, for a very long time. And therefore, we don't know who the legitimate government is in either country. That's why it is very important. The announcement made today is followed up with some practical activities, some practical statements, some practical implementation of what this means. What does it mean? Recognition. It's like Donald Trump saying, I want to rename the Gulf of Mexico into the Gulf of America. What does it mean? Does anything change as a result of that? So I think what is important is that we follow this up with some real strong support for peace. Get the two countries together. If Britain wants to do something practical, they can get the leaders of the two countries together, as Doha, as Qatar has tried to do, much to its cost. All the nations sitting on that Security Council need to get together and do this. I know that France is going to be next with recognition. That's coming up sometime this week. Knowing Emmanuel Macron, he will want to do this in a very dramatic fashion at the UN. I mean, who is against this? Just the United States?
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. All right. Stay on with me. Keith, I'm also being joined right now by Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev. Ambassador Sachdev, again, your views, in India was amongst the first nations to have recognized a Palestinian state. There have, as Keith said, a number of countries that have joined hands, decided to recognize Palestine. There is going to be the UNGA debate that is going to take place where voting will begin tomorrow onwards. How do you see things shaping up in favor of Palestine?
Thank you, Megha. And my salutations to fellow members of the panel. I think it's a momentous development when three countries that have long defied the silent majority, overwhelming majority of the UN members, join that majority. It has practical as well as notional importance. Practically, it raises the number of countries, their influence, and it makes it more difficult for Israelis to take actions that undermine the concept of two-state solutions, such as settlement activity, such as Gaza strife continuing, etc., etc. It puts more moral pressure on them. In terms of notional importance, I think there would be some expectation of countervailing forces Israel's Knesset has already passed a resolution totally ruling out a two-state solution. Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, has often said, and with a new tack, new sort of strength, that Palestine state would harm Israel, would not be conducive to bilateral arrangement, without saying what arrangement does he want to be in place. So I have a number of other reasons why these three countries and France and others in West Europe have planned to or executed recognition of Palestine.
Okay.
They have sizable Muslim minorities. They have to get more oil from Middle East, as Russian oil is denied. And these may be the calculations that have prompted this move.
Okay, all right, stay on with me. So I'm also being joined right now by Professor Ephraim Inbar. He's a senior researcher at the Jerusalem Institute for Strategy and Security. Professor Ephraim, how do you view, what is your reaction that the world at this point of time is coming together for the recognition of Palestine, even as the Israeli Prime Minister has just a short while ago released a statement? He said that recognizing Palestine is going to be akin to endangering Israel's identity, integrity, sovereignty.
I have nothing in principle against a Palestinian state if it's going to be a good neighbor. Unfortunately, the Palestinians at this stage are not ready to be a good neighbor. We are in the middle of a long war against Hamas that took over part of the Palestinian territories after committing tremendous atrocities in Israel. And the war is not ending primarily because Hamas is an Islamist, radical organization that fanatic that continues to fight. I invite all those countries to come to Gaza and to disarm Hamas. My other, I think, problem, which is much larger, it's not ours, it's the Palestinian. I'm not sure is at all that Palestinians are able to establish a state. After all, a state, according to the political science definition, Barbarian definition, is an entity with a monopoly over use of force. And unfortunately, since the Oslo Accords, when the Palestinian Authority was established in the West Bank and Gaza, it was not able to establish monopoly over use of force. In Gaza, we've seen that one militia took over, and in Gaza there are other militias, and actually we see now additional militias that fight against Hamas. And this is true also of the West Bank. Okay. In the West Bank, the Palestinian Authority has failed miserably in establishing monopoly over use of force, particularly in areas of Jenin and other towns, the refugee camps. It cannot impose its authority. So this type of chaotic entity, it doesn't suit us. I don't think it suits anybody.
Okay.
I do not understand why the countries try to recognize something that is not there. There is no Palestinian state. There were two Palestinian states, which both were failed states. If the world wants to have additional failed states, be it. But we are not going to cooperate with them.
Okay, all right. Ali Mohammed Abu Shbak is also on the telecast with me. He's joining me from Cairo. Ali, your response to countries at this point of time joining the chorus of an independent state of Palestine?
Thank you for having me. The thing is better late than nothing. despite this has a symbolic on the ground, it will not make any change. This is recognition. It will not halt the war. It will not halt the occupation. Just after the Australian and the British and several of countries recognize Palestine, as several of Israeli ministers, they are calling to reoccupy West Bank, and amid of the war in Gaza and the calling to reoccupy Gaza and departure the Gazan city civilians. So that will not make any change, but it's a symbolical. Politician thinks it has a significant symbolic. First of all, in 1967, the United Nations Council Resolution 242, it's allowing for two-state solution as a peace between Palestinian and Israel. And we have seen several times, Benjamin Netanyahu, he confirmed and pledged that will not let the Palestinians to establish their statehood. The thing is not about the Palestinians, they are aggressive, or Israeli, they are aggressive. The thing is about the politician will and the serious politician for a peace between Palestinian and Israel. I guess Benjamin Netanyahu and his right-wing coalition, they don't believe in social, political coexistence and peaceful coexistence between Palestinian and Israel. There is a 2 million Palestinians live inside Israel, and they are so peaceful. They are not accused, they are not a terrorist, according to them. Just only Gaza and a little bit of West Bank, they are a terrorist. So the thing is, Israel doesn't let the Palestinians to establish their statehood, to see the willness and to see their peaceful and their the will for peace with Israel as a neighbor, as a have a self-determination. Since the beginning and since the Oslo in 1993, Israel always tied the Palestinian Authority and weaknessing them. In West Bank, there is a weakness in Palestinian. To any minister to move from point to point has taken a permission from Israel. From Gaza, there is a siege for more than 70 years. So the thing is, make it more complicated. This recognition, it will not make any change on the ground, but just only has a symbolic support for the desperate civilians in Gaza that was sacrificed.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Ali Mohammed, for joining me on the telecast and sharing your views. I thank my panelists for having joined the telecast and sharing their views on this very important development that has taken place. In fact, the Palestinian Foreign Minister Wazen Agha-Bekhian Shaheen has welcomed the recognition of the Palestinian state as well. Shaheen has said that the countries recognizing the Palestine are taking an irreversible step that preserves the two-state solution and which will bring Palestinian independence and sovereignty closer.
الاعترافات أيضا تقول بشكل جدا واضح وصريح أن لا سيادة لإسرائيل على أرض دولتنا. نقطة. وهذا الاعتراف هو حق تاريخي وطبيعي وقانوني للشعب الفلسطيني، ورح يحمل هذا الاعتراف رسالة جدا هامة للشعب الفلسطيني، رسالة أمل في مستقبل فيه دولة فلسطينية حرة مجسدة على أرضها فلسطين.
The Palestinian Foreign Minister has also accused Israel of having no intention to negotiate, citing Netanyahu's remarks to build a new settlement in the West Bank that would cut off northern Palestinian communities from those in the south. Meanwhile, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that establishing a Palestinian state endangers Israel's survival. Netanyahu also vowed to fight global push for recognition of the Palestinian state.
אנחנו נצטרך להיאבק גם באו"ם וגם בכל הזירות האחרות מול התעמולה השקרית נגדנו והקריאות להקמת מדינה פלסטינית שתסכן את קיומנו ותהווה פרס אבסורדי לטרור. הקהילה הבינלאומית תשמע מאיתנו בעניין הזה בימים הקרובים.
Now this comes as Canada, Australia and United Kingdom have now formally recognized the state of Palestine, while France and 6 other countries are expected to do so next week at the United Nations General Assembly meet. Now, after the 3 countries, UK, Canada and Australia, recognized Palestine, the European nation of Portugal is also preparing to do the same. As these preparations are underway, reactions are already coming in from locals in Lisbon.
Acho ótimo. Acho que é indecente. É um genocídio que se está a viver na Palestina, para já. aparentemente porque querem fazer da Palestina um grande resort turístico, uma grande riviera, o que é a maior das vergonhas. Nenhuma nação tem o direito de invadir o território de outra nação. Eu mesmo digo em relação à Rússia sobre a Ucrânia. Portanto, eu estou aqui pela defesa dos direitos dos povos.
We are with Palestine. We will be with Palestine for sure. And I agree with the Portuguese people that they are doing every day, this square, that square, everywhere. They're doing something to support Palestine and to stop this genocide, you know. And I totally agree with the Portuguese people. And I myself, I will always be with Palestine, and I want them to be a free country.
I think it's a great thing. I think there is a desperate need for Palestinian voices to be heard, especially in the international court. In The Hague, in the United Nations, there is a strong need for that. If there is not recognition of both sides, there can never be correct discourse. There needs to be voices from all sides of the aisle, especially the voices of the oppressed need to be made louder by the more wealthy countries. And I think as G7 nations, we need to lift up the people of Palestine.
É aquela situação em que ou mais países se juntam e formam tomam uma ação e em conjunto aí alguma coisa que pode vir a surgir daí, ou então se for só um também não vai resultar assim, fazer grande efeito nesse aspecto.
Meanwhile, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza still continues to be dire. There's heavy traffic that filled the Al-Rashid coastal road near Nuseirat in central Gaza as Palestinians fled south from the northern Gaza Strip. This comes amidst ongoing Israeli airstrikes and tank fire aimed at seizing Gaza city.
لأنا أنزح لأنه صار كتير صعب الطيارات بقصفن حوالينا والطيارات اللي هذول بتطخطخ علينا واحنا عند مخيم الشاطئ المشتل المخيم الناس صار يطخطخوا عليهم وفي كتير ناس استشهدت وفي كتير ناس تصاوبت وفي دير كتير حوالينا اتفجرت. بطلنا ننام من الخوف ومن الرعب ومن الوضع كتير صعب عينينا بطلت تقدر تغمض، فمضطرينا عشان أنا مش عشان خاطر عشان عندي أطفال مش ذنبهم يعيشوا في هالرعب.
اليهود وخربوا علينا أحلامنا وخربوا علينا كل إشي إحنا كنا نحلم فيه وكنا نتمناه. الحمد لله اليوم طلعنا من غزة من الشاطئ الشمالي مقابل مدرسة أبو عاصر. اليوم انقصفت مدرسة أبو عاصر.